Welcome, Star Wars fans, to another episode of the Escape Pod. This is Lightsaber Week, and all week we're talking about lightsabers. So, what a better time than now to talk about our top 10 lightsaber fights. I'm your host, Mitchell Smith, and with me is my co-host, Ron Town.
What a better time indeed, Mitch.
And my other co-host, my co-host, Carl Eicher.
That sounds like a demotion from Ron.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
true.
Harsh.
Because
Right.
you won the trivia, so you got demoted.
Yeah, naturally.
Oh.
It's like
Fair.
it's like the NFL. When you win, you get the last pick in the draft.
Yeah, but dude, check out my badass Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, you won the trivia, so they built a beautiful Millennium Falcon together.
I mean, it's pretty
They
rad.
bonded, and I got us beers. So
Yeah.
Ron didn't like any of them. Anyways, we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite lightsaber fights. And we're gonna include any type of lightsaber fights. It doesn't have to be just lightsaber on lightsaber battling. It can be anything. So I guess, as I usually do, I will start off with my number 10 lightsaber fight. And my number 10 lightsaber fight is the epic fight in the Senate room between Yoda and the Emperor.
It's a pretty good fight. I like that one. It gave us the Sidious action that we'd all been craving up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, does anyone else have it on their list? And where would it be?
I do have it on my list, but I'm not going
Where's
to
it
tell
on
you.
your list?
I'm not going to tell
Are
you.
you going to keep it
I
secret?
do not have it on my
You don't
list.
have it on
Because
your
it's
list?
not
But it's a good fight. I like it.
All right, it's a great fight. I mean, I like the force part of it
Yeah.
too. It's
Throwing all the
really
chairs and stuff around is
cool.
pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah, and just Yoda flipping around
Gotta love Yoda.
is great.
He's a little green guy.
So, Ron, what's your number 10 lightsaber fight?
So my number 10 was Attack of the Clones in the arena when all the Jedi show up with all the lightsabers.
Yeah.
It's number 10. It's pretty low because while there's a lot of lightsabers and a lot of fighting, there's not too much cool stuff that happens. Yeah, the Jango Fett, Mace Windu, sweet. There's some other cool stuff that goes around, but I felt like that could have been a better scene if it was a little more focused and less just kind of crazy.
People complain about the way that Boba Fett dies. It's like, oh, Boba Fett's not that.
No, you just
he's
kill
not
him.
that cool because he
Don't give
dies
him-
so fast.
Yeah, you can't give him a second because he's got tricks up his sleeve and he'll get away. That's what they
But
learned.
Jango Fett dies in an equally quick and lame
Yeah,
way.
but it's not lame, dude. You have,
No,
you
he
have
gets his
Mace
head chopped
Windu
off, that's
running
pretty
at him.
cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's way less lame than just being
He basically
hit from
expends
behind.
every trick in his arsenal only to get owned.
He gets owned, but
He
it's
gets-
not lame.
It's so owned, dude. It's not
because-
even funny.
It's because it
It's
basically
just like,
shows
it's
that
kind
he's
of
a
sad.
human. He's not a Jedi. He relies on technology and his gadgets to get the upper hand, and when that breaks on him, which is inevitable, which is what happens, then he loses, and that's what that's kind of the cool thing about it.
Yeah, I would agree. But he dies.
He does die, and well, the lame thing is
And that's
not
kind of
that
how
after he
Boba Fett
dies.
too.
Boba Fett doesn't die that way, but that's cool that you think that. We've discussed this.
Boba Fett dies more lame than Jango. Anyways, Carl, what do you
doesn't die
got
in
for
Sarlacc pit.
number 10?
I got Luke Vader round 2.
Vader and A New Hope.
In Jedi.
No, Jedi. Round 2.
Oh, Luke Vader.
Luke Vader.
Whoa.
Luke Vader, round 2.
Wow,
Number 10.
that's
See.
way up there for me. That's way
Yeah,
up
mine's a lot higher too. I like that fight.
there. I love that
It's a good fight. It's a good fight, but
And I do consider the entirety of that entire portion where Luke is up there in the throne.
Yeah,
Right.
the whole throne room
Just-
scene. That's what I kind of.
Yeah,
I would love to see that redone.
I would not want to see that redone ever.
It's like good choreography.
That's the point. You don't need good. You guys are mixing up like spinning around with like.
Speaking of redone, have you guys seen that Ben Kenobi versus Vader redone?
No.
It's kind of cool. They had a little cool action to it. Anyways, my number 9 is Obi-Wan. I'll put in a clip for the video. Right now, people will be seeing some cool action of Obi-Wan and Vader.
And then can you then show the part where he kind of like moves the sword just a little bit like this, and it points at the camera, and there's no lightsaber, it's just a little light for a little bit. That always bothered me when I was a kid.
Nope, don't remember that. Not gonna find that. Sorry. All right. Anyways, my number 9 is Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Dooku on General Grievous's ship,
Okay.
where Emperor says, "Do it."
Do it.
Classic line, classic meme. Maybe one of the greatest prequel memes.
And it's a decapitation, which
And
is always nice.
decapitation,
Does love
and
Star Wars
arms being cut off. Great. Do it.
It's got it all.
You guys ever play Hey Palpatine? It's a great game. It's like,
I've got that
hey,
on
if
my
you got
list,
if you got a library book that you want to keep reading, but it's overdue, what should you do? You say, renew it. It's just a game where you set up your friend to say stuff that rhymes and do it. Anyways, it's a fun game. Go ahead.
I'll take a pass.
You guys are passing on that game.
Awesome.
Okay, Ron, what's your number 9 lightsaber fight?
My number 9 is Anakin versus Obi-Wan because it was
Which one?
the one in Revenge of the Sith. Because it
Vader
was.
versus Obi-Wan.
It's Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Okay.
It's Anakin Skywalker,
Alright.
and it's. I mean, if you're gonna
That's
put
number
Fox
9?
in names, yeah, that's number 9 because it was pretty sweet, obviously, but also kind of cheesy, and it went way too long.
I agree. That's why I didn't put it on my list because it's too long. Not on my list at all.
That's fair.
Not even in my honorable mentions because I got kind of bored. I feel like it's going to be up there in Carl's list. He always talks about it because it's kind of lame. But okay, go ahead with your number 9.
Number 9, Yoda versus Sidious.
Hey, that was my number 10.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. We talked about that. Great fight.
Yep.
I'll go to my number 8, which we also just talked about. Kenobi versus Vader on the Death Star.
Okay.
It's
Ooh, didn't make my list.
didn't make Carl's list
Great
because he's not
quotes,
a
though.
true.
Great
Because they play tiddlywinks with each other for like 5 minutes.
All right, this is why it's up
They're
there.
all
all right, can I?
bad,
You
though.
don't
No,
have
they're
why are
not.
you
Vader's not
pooping
bad.
all over
He's a
my
robot.
list, bro?
I'm just
Let me
telling you
explain to
why
you.
that scene
Yeah,
is,
let's
though.
hear it.
Okay, a lot of this list is nostalgia, right? Number 1 is definitely nostalgia,
Sure.
and maybe you guys is too. Also,
Foreshadowing.
the first lightsaber fight I've ever seen, I'm sure. And you get to see someone disappear. It's like, what? You're just like, the whole universe opens up in that. You see Luke like, oh no, and then right after he's like, Luke, run. It's like that whole scene, and it leads into a whole bigger world of lightsaber fighting.
Well, and it really shows that the Force is a thing. Up until then, you get little things about the Force here or there, but that's an actual thing. And the quote, where he says that, "Strike me down, and I shall become more powerful than you can imagine." I mean, that's some badass shit. So I like that scene purely for that, not necessarily the
That's fine.
fighting,
That's
right?
fine.
It's a good scene.
That's fine. You're just focusing on the non-lightsaber parts of the scene, but that's all right.
I think it's valid.
That's true. Ron, what do you got for number 8?
Very lightsaber
My number 8.
focused. You could say I have a lightsaber-like focus.
I could say that.
You could.
I'm not going to.
I don't think you're going to.
I'm not going
now
to.
that I told you that you have the ability to. You're
Oh yeah, that's a great one, Ron. Love that one.
Yeah, so my number 8 is the Sarlacc pit battle, where R2-D2 starts it by launching Luke Skywalker across the Sarlacc pit, and he jumps off the diving
This
board.
is your number 8?
Yeah.
Congratulations, friend. That's my number 8.
Oh, that's what I'm talking
Wait,
about.
wait,
I
Luke
said
and
Luke
the-
at Jabba's
And Lando's
palace.
fighting, and Han Solo's blind, and he doesn't
at
get
Jabba's
to
palace.
see.
It's the first time you see him light up the green.
It's the only
It's
little
like,
bit of Boba Fett
ooh,
fighting you get.
there
Oh,
you
yeah,
go.
I'm
it's
gonna be
great.
honest,
He's
I
a
didn't
beast.
think of
lightsaber's
that.
green,
It's
dude.
dope, yeah, I'm in, 100%.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think of that one. I should have thought of it because that's a good one.
That's alright, there's a lot of good ones, I think.
There's a lot of good ones that we probably all are gonna forget.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
dude,
not,
yeah.
it's not like a necessarily.
That's why
He's not battling anybody else with a lightsaber, but it's one of those scenes.
That's a good
where
scene.
It's just
When he
he
does
pulls the
cool
lightsaber,
stuff,
and it's
too.
a really cool scene.
He deflects some
Right,
laser
and
bolts.
this is a good one that I hope you guys didn't forget. My number 7, Vader versus the Rebels in Rogue One.
Sure, I
Very
considered
cool.
that
One
one.
of the only redeeming
It was
parts
super
of Rogue
one.
One.
It's very one-sided, but it was.
I
It
mean,
had
I
to
was
be.
getting through my list, all right? I was getting down to number 7, and I was like, that was all that I could think of. It's so
Well-
badass, and it made me love the movie, right? Because at the end of the movie, that you go out with that, like, oh my god, I just saw Vader be maybe the coolest or badass you've ever seen Vader
Yeah,
be.
you get to see how like murderous he
Yeah.
was.
Which is
I
cool.
mean,
I mean,
that's-
you see some of that stuff in the comics where he's really badass, but
Yeah.
that's like
I've
live
been
action.
dabbling with getting down with the Vader comics because it's basically the only time
Hey, I got
that
him.
isn't like filled in.
Yeah.
It's like him hunting down all the Jedi.
Oh, I mean,
finishing
he has
them.
more of a character than just kind of being what he is in the original. Well, let's not get into that.
Ron, what do you got for number 7?
My number 7 is the scene from Episode 4 where they're on the Millennium Falcon and Luke is battling the trainer droid, and he says, "With the blast shield down, I can't see." Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is discussing
Classic
the Force
Ron.
with Han Solo, and it just is a great conversation about
That
the
is.
blast.
Blast right there.
Okay, I thought about that, but I didn't really consider it a fight. But I know classic.
Well,
Ron.
Luke lost the fight, so that's why I know it's a fight.
No, he won.
No, he did
He
not.
lost.
He got
He lost.
shot.
It was a battle for him.
All right.
Yeah. Well, there's turning of the tide in that case.
All right, Carl, you got a number 7?
Number 7, Vader Luke, round 1.
Mhm.
That's impossible.
No.
Good scene.
Vader Luke round 1, better
Luke
than
round 1.
Than round 2.
I
I preferred
context.
It was
round
the
2.
first
Context.
cool lightsaber fight you got to see.
Sure.
Where it
Well,
wasn't,
they're using the
where it
Force
wasn't
to throw
Tiddlywinks,
stuff.
or
Oh,
it
yeah.
wasn't Old Man Alec Guinness like playing tip-tap with props that they were afraid to break.
Speaking of firsts, my number 6 is
Sorry.
the first time
That's what it looks like to me. It just
you
looks
get to
like
see.
I'm afraid to break a precious prop. Like,
All right,
don't break it! Or,
Oh, God.
You're,
We only
Carl,
have
you're
2 of
totally
them.
ruining my segue.
all right, well, sorry, bro.
Speaking
The
of
Segway's
first-
design ruined the Segue, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
Speaking of first, I'm just gonna edit all that shit out and go straight to speaking of first.
Don't edit out.
That's
Our
my
marvelous
great
banter.
Segue.
Speaking of first, Yoda. Oh, I wanted it up. Versus Dooku. The first time you get to see Yoda with a lightsaber. This is definitely a nostalgia pick. I
For the
feel like
thrill.
for me.
I feel it, I feel it.
One of the scenes that I love is Yoda just opening up his cloak and the lightsaber flying in his
Yeah,
hand.
that was hype.
How old was
that
I?
was
Like
that was
12.
hype.
I probably got my first boner.
That was a 6 to
during that
midnight
scene.
moment for
When I was
sure.
12 years
Yeah,
old. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
probably I
yeah,
did, right?
That was hype.
6 to midnight.
And they're fighting. They're using the Force. It's so cool.
It's pretty rad.
So cool.
That's pretty awesome.
And what do you got?
My number 6 is Vader versus Luke from Jedi.
Okay.
And something I want to add on to that too that was really cool was just the whole Palpatine taunting him thing. Some of my favorite quotes are from that scene.
For sure.
And it's just, "You pathetic little friends." Like, I love that. That's just such a good, like, just, oh, it's just,
Yeah,
so
it's
bad.
just like, so delectably evil.
So be it, Jedi. Like, that's great.
I love that. Yeah.
Pronouncing all this consonant sounds with an extra flair.
So be it, Jedi. Just disgusting sound. It's great. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, he's a spiteful fucker.
What do you got, Carl?
Number 6.
That is number 6. Yeah.
Sidious Mace Windu.
Ooh.
It's a good fight.
Yep.
Little lightning action.
Wait, are you including all of it with Kit Fisto in the beginning too? All that
I'm
stuff.
just including the entire scene of him confronting Sidious. I mean, the lightsaber like popping out of his sleeve is like, shit, Daddy came to play. And
That's the first time we get to
goes
see
down.
Sidious with the lightsaber,
You
right?
see him do his magic like barrel roll twisty stab, takes one guy down.
That's
Lasts like maybe another half second.
I call that the drill.
Yeah, the drill.
That
the
is
drill.
also the scene you get to see the literal beginnings of Darth Vader.
Yeah,
At the
sure,
end of that scene,
sure,
that
sure.
the one thing that
So-
Well, actually,
My question-
I will argue that later in my
Do you-
list.
Do you think Darth Vader enjoyed what he was doing when he was doing evil shit?
Yes.
So like slaughtering all those rebels. Do you
Yes.
think like underneath the mask he was smiling?
Yes. Yes.
Or do you think
That's
that
the
was
whole
like a
point.
tortured like?
No, to
I
him
have
it
to
was
do
he's
this is
powerful.
my destiny now. I am
One of my-
this
I don't
way.
think he was tortured.
I am this way. I'm going to behave.
I think
this
seeing
way.
his son and all that stuff flipped in later. I don't think he was up until that point.
I
he
think
was
at the
too much
beginning
of a
he was.
robot.
At the
He was
beginning-
more machine than man. They even say that as Vader.
Yeah, but at that point, is he still enjoying it, or is he just like?
He might be.
I think it
methodically
depends.
just carrying it out
depends
like
how
a
far.
robot.
New Hope, I think he is, but before that, I think he struggles a little bit.
Once he knows about Luke, I think that's when.
So you think the scene in Rogue One is like a scene that he
Yeah,
may
he's
like,
already-
later have been like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have gone that crazy.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
One of the scenes that's in my honorable mentions that
Should
we
we do
can kind of
honorable
talk
mentions?
about.
Can we do
No,
honorable
no, I
mentions?
just wanted it because it's
Well-
pertinent. We'll do that before the last one, but this one's pertinent. Where Vader or Anakin goes against all those separatists. It's not really a fight, but he
Oh,
just goes
he
and moves
murders
far.
them?
Just I think that's a great Vader scene.
Yeah, it's a good Vader scene.
Anyways, are we
Satisfying
on
too,
number?
because those are some
Are we on number
annoying
5 now, or
Yeah,
We are number
they
5.
needed to die. They needed to die since episode 1.
my number 5 is Luke versus Kylo on Crate, the Force projection fight.
Oh,
Yeah, shoot,
pretty
dude,
cool.
I forgot to add that into my rankings.
It's pretty cool.
So I guess we'll have to take mine with a grain of salt. That'd probably be my top 3, but I'll keep.
I
I'll
love
keep
that,
going.
dude, because it's probably the most different lightsaber. Like it came out and it's like completely. it blows your mind. You're like, the whole time, I remember I was looking at, because I was watching it with Carl in the theater, I was like, how does he have that lightsaber? I was like, my brain was being
It wasn't even that first. You looked at his beard and you're like, his beard is different.
Yeah, I was like, he looks different.
Well,
His
and
legs
how
have
did
weird
he-
space.
His legs look weird.
And how do you get there? He just
weird.
shows up inside the base. That's
Yeah.
at this point they didn't know about the back entrance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But there was no entrance. He just came in from force projection.
Well, exactly. That's the whole
I
point.
mean,
That's
he's
what I thought. I was like,
Skywalker,
where'd he
I
come
assume
from?
he could land somewhere away
Great
away
scene.
and like still find.
And we'll probably-
They were rocks in the way.
And
He
right
came
now we'll
from.
be showing that 8-bit version probably that I love. Have you seen that?
No, but
Yeah,
I'll
it's
see it
pretty cool.
probably.
Yeah, it's a
Pretty
great
cool.
version.
Game
That's
Boy
probably
graphics.
playing right now. Right up until the point we hear what Ron's number 5 is.
My number 5 is Vader versus Luke from Empire, and again, everything that Carl said. Awesome new. The first time you see the Force used to like just destroy somebody. The cool setting in the carbon freezing chamber. That's just awesome. The glowing orange.
Yep,
and
that's
the
my number
silhouettes.
4.
It's just iconic imagery.
Yep.
Empire, great. I mean, just because it's my number 4, I just say like that scene. I'm your father. Probably the most iconic moment in Star Wars, right?
True.
And like you said, it's the first great lightsaber battle. You get to see Vader throwing stuff at Luke, and it's like the window opens, his hand gets cut off. Like that scene, like is kind of the
you're like,
spark
what's
that lit the fire behind Force Awakens. His hand cutting off, because if you know the original opening of Force Awakens was going to be Luke's hand floating in space with a lightsaber.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't
makes
do
no
that.
sense.
That would have been
Makes no
stupid.
sense.
But that was going to be the original opening.
It's-
Anyways,
it's
Carl,
falling down.
we're jumping a little ahead.
Best
Carl,
Vader's
we
number
didn't get
5.
your number 5.
My number 5 is Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar.
Okay,
All right.
it's a good fight.
I like
Anything
it.
more
I
to
don't
say
know.
about that? Why do you like this?
It's not only like the
Highlights.
actual battle, because it seems to me like it's so. It's not super lame, but it seems like one of the more emotionally charged lightsaber battles in Star Wars.
Sure. Well,
And it almost feels like you can feel like the hate coming from one side and like the like neglectful like power being brought back in by Obi-Wan. Like I'm doing this because I have to. Like you have chosen to become my enemy, and Anakin's just like, oh my god, I hate you. I don't know. I think and the final scene is it's still like
No, I like that.
when
that
I was
bit,
when I was
like it.
14
The high
like
ground's
that.
cool.
Yeah, dude, it's like
well,
and then he did it, and
That-
the final like redeeming thing that Hayden Christensen did was the I hate you. I kind of liked it. I mean,
and that was the one part.
the one time
of the original
what he was saying.
story about how
Exactly.
Darth Vader was formed that they kept was that part where he's basically
I
chopped
feel
in
like
half in the lava
that
and
scene
he's burned
that scene
up.
would have made my list
So I was
if you
like,
would have cut out about half of it. Like the parts I liked about
Would
that
you
scene.
like surfing on lava?
on the droids?
Yeah,
on
we
the surface of the lava.
we could have skipped
I
that.
mean,
And the Spider-Man swinging could have skipped that. But
Yeah,
I
there
like
were
the
just a lot
standing
of-
on the pole
lot
was
of filler
cool.
moments.
The
Yeah,
last standing on
fallings.
the pole was where they're both standing and balancing and they're
Yeah.
fighting. That was cool. The high ground was cool. And even inside in the throne room when they're in not throne room, but whatever that room is in close quarters, that's cool. But all that other stuff too much.
and just as I don't know, as a finalization of the, like, yeah, he was Vader. He went to the Jedi Academy, killed all the Padawans, and he went to Mustafar and killed all those politicians.
Separatists.
But this was the final like transformation of Vader.
Did that make any of your guys' list? The killing of the.
Well, I was going to say an honorable
younglings?
mention, but
No.
you can bring it up.
No, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's a little one-sided. I like the way
Well,
that
honestly,
the one flinched.
there's one youngling that made my honorable mentions, which was the youngling versus the clones. Remember that little youngling that
cool,
like
yeah,
took
where
out a
he
few
jumps
clones?
out and-
Oh, that's pretty sweet, yeah,
that
that's
was a
pretty
good
sweet.
one. That was an
That's
honorable
cool.
mention for me. Anyway, so my number 4 I already said was Luke and Vader in Cloud City. We talked about that. Ron, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Revan versus Malik from the ending of KOTOR.
Very
It's
spicy.
pretty badass because
I've
Malik,
never seen it.
he has a bunch of basically clone bodies that he sucks energy from and keeps healing himself.
Cool.
So as Revan, you're finally powered up. You're basically by yourself, and you're facing off against your former apprentice who has taken over as the Sith Lord. And at this point, if you're playing as a good, light side Jedi, you're basically redeeming yourself for your past mistakes and murders and basically genocides.
Having gone to the dark side, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you're evil, of course, you're basically retaking the throne of being the Sith Lord. So it's whichever side you're doing, it's just awesome, and it's of course the peak fight of the greatest game of all time.
Oh, Revan. Yeah, so that's Revan. Revan.
Cool.
That's a wrap. Revan.
Got anything to say about that, Carl? Because I don't know anything
It's
about
pretty
that.
cool.
All right, Carl, what's
Pretty
your number
disappointing.
4?
I still don't really like the gameplay though. That's my biggest
I
problem.
love it,
I
but
can't
that's okay.
replay that game because
Oh,
the
no,
fighting
so many
style.
I have it right here. You guys want to play it right now?
I have 2
don't-
copies at my house.
I don't want to at all.
All right, Carl, what's your number 4 then?
4 Anakin Dooku round 2.
Okay.
So on the so that was mine. I just added Obi-Wan's part into it. You just kind of took that out.
Solo Anakin. Only the part with Anakin because it's like
Yeah, the little flip is kind of lame.
Flips are pretty cool though, guys. We need some more spins.
Why does he jump? He's no reason. Anyways, all right, yeah, it's cool. Cutting off his hands. That's almost like one of the first moments where you see
where he's
Anakin's
torn. He's torn between like,
Yeah, the first moment is probably the Tusken Raiders where he kills them.
Uh-huh.
Before that, in deleted scenes of Phantom Menace, Anakin fights Greedo as a kid. That's another moment.
No, it's not Greedo. It's
No, it's Greedo.
It's one of the same species. It's a
No, it's
Rodian.
Greedo.
It's a Rodian, but it's not Greedo.
No, I just watched this deleted scene. It's called Anakin versus Greedo. That's the name of the deleted scene.
I'm gonna look it up on my phone right now. 'cause
I have
That's definitely the name of the deleted scene. Carl.
It's probably fine. So what are we on, number 4?
We're on number
Top 3?
Top three.
Top 3?
Carl's going to be looking up what... Usually this happens with me and Carl. Carl makes a
Doesn't believe you.
erroneous statement.
Doesn't believe you at
He
all.
looks it up. He's like, fuck.
Then he just doesn't say
And
anything.
then he's
No,
like...
because I read like an Anakin Skywalker book as a kid. And
Oh yeah, not
wasn't
canon anymore though.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
Carl. Doesn't matter what you read as a kid.
Yeah, but
Remember that?
the
They just
deleted
they
scene
took
is
all
called
of it.
Anakin and Greedo.
Star Wars Episode 3 deleted scenes.
No,
and he
Episode
kills
1.
Shang-Chi. Ooh.
Episode 1.
Yeah,
Okay,
watch that.
Carl, we're doing a podcast and you're looking at your phone. Anyways,
Poor etiquette.
number 3, very poor.
Very poor.
I hope this is on one of your lists.
Like
Maybe
Shmi
not.
level poor.
My number 3 is Rey and Kylo versus the Elite Praetorian Guard.
It didn't make my list.
Great,
Did not make the list.
great imagery.
I did enjoy it. I liked it when I saw it in theaters.
I liked it when I saw it in theaters, but now that I've had time to unpack it, not.
I like it more.
That's
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
I
I like
love the part where, obviously, the beginning where they defeat Snoke is great. That's probably one of my favorite parts of that movie, or if
Pretty
not my
sweet.
favorite part in Star Wars. And also the part where Rey kills one of the guards, throws her lightsaber
Yeah.
to Kylo, and he just turns it on and kills. That's like
That's pretty rad.
It's
There's
one
some
of
cool,
those-
there's
it's
cool
very
stuff in there.
Very
That's
cool,
for sure.
and it brings some of the classic imagery back from
Sure.
the original trilogy that I
Well,
love.
we didn't have any of that before, so we needed some of that classic imagery in Jedi.
So, was I right, Carl?
Well, what?
You just googled it.
Well, he's not saying
I,
anything. so
I didn't find it right away.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, my
What's
number
your
3 is the Phantom Menace finale against Darth Maul.
Ooh.
I thought it was pretty sweet. Of course, when I saw it first time, it was the coolest thing of all time at that time. And double-bladed lightsaber. All I'm gonna say, dope. It was well done with the guy that did that played Darth Maul. I mean,
my
that guy
gosh.
he carried that. It was great.
Very cool. My number 3,
Yep.
the Geonosis, the Thunderdome, when,
Okay.
especially when they're talking to the Trade Federation people, and Windu's like, "Yeah, you thought I came alone?
Yeah. What are you?
silly
What are you,
bitches."
what are you, stupid? Yes.
They all light up around the arena. That's pretty,
cool.
like,
Yep.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
All right, I'll go on to my number 2, which we talked about. Luke and Vader on the second Death Star. And the reason we talked about this, but one of the reasons I really like this, I mean, obviously the lightsaber battle is great. What Ron said about Palpatine, great. But also, it's kind of like the culmination of Star Wars. It's like kind of the great
Vader's
ending.
story is
It's
done.
Vader's story redemption, and I love that, him being redeemed, him defeating, and it's kind of like it's hard to end a satisfying way, like franchises.
Yeah.
It's very hard, and this is kind of how they ended it satisfyingly, and that's why it's up there for number 2 for me. Ron, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was Anakin versus Asajj from the Clone Wars.
Oh yes.
This was actually the very first instance where Anakin showed that he has
Sure,
the
yeah.
dark side, because this fight, if you haven't seen it, is so good. It has Asajj dual wielding red lightsabers, which is
Love
sweet.
it, love it.
And they fight, and like halfway through the fight, it starts to rain, and so you get the drops of rain hitting the lightsabers, and it sizzles, and they're fighting in the rain. And when he murders her, basically, he kills her. He doesn't have to, but he does, because this is him basically starting.
And he
to
does it
turn.
with one of her lightsabers. too,
Yes,
so
which
he
is
has the red
iconic. It's,
lightsaber.
yep. And he knocks her, basically destroys the ground beneath her with the
It's great,
with the
yeah.
force.
That's
and
definitely
it's
my honorable
great
mentions.
pose. It's awesome. That's a good fight. I like that one.
Honorable mentions for sure. The only reason I didn't put it in is because it wasn't in a movie. If I kind of thought of my list as movie, but
Well, that one's just
go
a
ahead.
Did she not turn back?
No, in the cartoon, it's different canon. That's why it's not canon.
It's,
So the canon
it's
is
in
different.
between the movies, and it's canon. I don't care what they say with these stupid 3D things.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, yeah, the 3D is technically canon, so she couldn't have died, because she turns good at the end. Ron is shaking his head, very disgusted.
I don't count all that. It's okay,
Okay,
if you guys do.
I have
Carl,
no idea.
Carl, what do you got for number 2?
Obi Qui-Gon versus Maul.
It's a good fight.
It's
Number 2?
fantastic. I think.
And that is, let me just say
Reasons
now,
up there.
that is my number 1.
Yeah, it's got to be in your top
Yeah,
3 or
for
4
sure.
or 5. I mean, it's got to be because as a complete scene, and give it to Williams for
Oh, dude, that song. Come on.
is
Yeah.
so
Was all of
perfect.
our number 1 songs.
I think
Yeah,
it,
for
yeah,
sure.
So it's just, I don't know, powerful scene
Yeah.
overall, and it's probably the first you guys don't like the word, choreographed lightsaber scenes in.
Well, at that point, they didn't get. After that, they tried to replicate it and just got ridiculous with the stuff. So that, because the first time you
No,
did it, it's fine.
that,
'cause
that
there's
one was
moderation.
legit, and I think part of the reason it was legit because you have a real stunt guy as Darth Maul. All the other ones are
Yeah.
actors trying to be that.
Mhm.
And the
That's
Darth
true.
Maul doing
Oh, he
flips.
carries that. I mean, that guy is amazing.
He's incredible. That dude,
Yeah.
like he's so good. Like they cast a guy and they didn't even use his voice because they're like, you're just good at doing flips and like let's get a movie like with that guy. He doesn't even have to be Darth Maul. Let him be whoever. Like
Mhm.
that dude is amazing. We need some of that more. And that's my number
Honestly,
one.
one of
Obviously.
my least favorite things about Star Wars Rebels is the guy they picked to voice Darth Maul.
Or does it not fit at all?
Just typical dark side. He's got like a
Oh.
slightly English accent, and it's like,
Really?
yeah, that's
Nah,
really lame.
that doesn't
I
fit.
hate it.
Well,
Yeah, that's what's his name? I forget his name.
I don't care.
doesn't matter.
We're moving on.
It's honorable mentions time.
Number 1.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did my
honorable
honorable mentions. I already said my number 1 because Carl brought it up. So obviously, Asajj Anakin. There's one in the Ron's hated 3D, but it's Maul versus Sidious, both dual wielding. Maul has a red lightsaber and he has a black dark saber, and Sidious has 2 lightsabers. It's really
It's
cool.
like fanfic. Do you know what I mean?
It is kind of like
That's
fanfic.
what it sounds- You know what I mean? It's,
All right, my other honorable mention is Han Solo versus the Tauntaun. Great
Yeah,
fight.
sure. I actually like that. That's a
Great
good one.
battle.
Another great battle that my last honorable mention besides the other 2 that I mentioned earlier is Qui-Gon versus the Blast Doors, and he's still getting through.
That's true. He's
So
working on it.
I'll
He's
throw
working
out
on it.
Wampa. The Wampa gets
It's a good
Wampa
one.
Stomp.
It's a good one.
It's the first time Luke actually successfully uses,
Because
like
like
tangibly see him use the Force.
yeah.
So
It's pretty cool.
I got 2. My first one is Execute Order 66. It's not much of a battle because the clone troopers win, but you get Ayla Secura taken down, get Ki-Adi-Mundi taken down. Plo Koon's just in a spaceship. He's taken down. It's quick, but it's iconic also, and gives us another good Palpatine quote. And then my other one is also from the Clone Wars TV show, the real one, the cartoon, the Samurai Jack one,
Clone Wars,
which is
not the
where
Clone Wars.
there's no dialogue, but Kit Fisto goes underwater and fights against the I believe it's the calamari, the not Admiral Akbar, but the other creature from that planet.
Yep, they're like, kind of like little
Squid heads. The squid heads.
And if we're going-
and he's got the lightsaber that works underwater, and it's really cool.
Cthulhu.
I like
And if
that
we're
one.
going with that
Yes.
program, I gotta have a shout out for Mace Windu.
Can you not?
versus
Because that's my number
All the
1.
Thrones. Oh.
Though, actually.
So great,
Let's talk about
great
that.
segue.
It's a perfect scene. You know why, Mitch?
Why?
Because Mace Windu takes out an entire battalion by himself, and it's awesome. The coolest scene ever.
Evidence for him probably maybe even winning a lightsaber duel against.
Yeah, exactly. The guy's
No,
awesome.
same.
There's, I mean, this thing. If you haven't seen it, just Google it. It's awesome.
No,
Just
they're going
watch
to be
it.
watching it right
Oh,
now.
it's so cool. He uses his force powers where he's using little bits of like metal and sand. And he just destroys a bunch. He's just cutting through them like butter as always. I mean, you got to see it. It's great. He single-handedly takes down.
yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's great. What's your number one?
My number one is Yoda Dooku.
For the hype.
So hyped, dude. Like,
Yeah.
come on, you walked out of that theater jazzed. You didn't sleep a wink that night. Not big
I don't recall.
I remember.
I was so excited.
Dude,
I think I went out to the store next day and bought like 5 lightsabers to play with my friends.
More than anything.
I really did.
I remember the feeling walking out of that movie thinking, I feel like I shouldn't think this is as cool as it is, but I am like overwhelmed with how cool this is.
You just got hit in the head.
Everybody's all psyched about Yoda, but like the Geonosis scene is pretty sweet. Like I wanted people to think about that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know when he opens his robe and pulls the lightsaber out.
Great.
That's
That's everyone. Oh shit!
yeah, it's one of those moments
I
where
mean,
there
come on.
wasn't. Yeah, everybody in the theater was making noise.
Especially if you saw it early on and before it was spoiled everywhere. Because
I saw it opening day. So
All right,
exactly,
let's
yeah.
try and quickly. Can we come up with a top 3 lightsaber battles?
Probably have to put Maul at number 1 since
Darth
we're in the
Maul
top 3.
and Darth Maul number 1.
Probably
Vader Luke round 1.
Yeah, round 1's gotta be number 2.
And what's number 3?
For me, it's probably round 2 for them.
Yeah, round 2 because that's my number 2.
Yep. You know, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'll agree. I might have rated it a little low because I think overall as a scene too when Luke refuses to give in to the dark side. It's pretty rad. It's the reason that older generations are so butthurt about the way that Luke acts in The Last Jedi is because he's such a perfect hero in that moment.
Yeah, but you guys gotta.
He's the perfect hero, and that's the last they saw him was
that's-
being the perfect hero, and that's why a person who might be like 30 to 40 years old grew up on this shit. That's why they're mad.
Those
I
people- those
understand it.
people
I
gotta
understand
think
they're
about-
wrong. I understand it.
They're wrong, but
But
this
they
is
need
what
to let go of that.
This,
but
no, this is what they need to think about. These people need to think about how Obi-Wan and Yoda acted in the prequels versus how they were
It's a little
in,
thing called
in the original
wisdom.
trilogy.
You get it as you grow older.
They were not the same. They were not fighting for what was right in the galaxy either. Obi-Wan and Yoda were kind of doing what Luke did in The Last Jedi. They're hiding and they're like, we need to let this work out itself.
Balance happens without
That's
yeah,
how.
no, but at the same time, neither Yoda nor Obi-Wan disconnected themselves from the Force, while Luke actively made attempts to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
but he's also the last one. Yoda
Right,
and Obi-Wan
right,
knew
right,
about
yeah,
each
no,
other
no, whatever.
because they're bros.
Sure, but
They talk
Yoda
by
as a
a
Force
phone.
Ghost, he can probably turn
Oh my
someone
God.
else
Oh
into a
no, Yoda can turn someone else to a Jedi.
I think I see a lightsaber coming through
Oh
the
my
store.
God, there's a
guys. We gotta
lightsaber
get
coming.
going.
We better.
He's still
okay.
coming through.
I think he's still coming through.
Coming through. All right, let's get out of here. That was a great list, guys. Pat yourselves on the back for a genius podcast.
I'll do
I wouldn't go that far, but
Hey, has anyone seen my cat saber?
Oh, your cat saber. I think your cat is dead.
to the 3 listeners we have,
Yeah.
good night.
And it's just us. Those are the
And
3
mostly
listeners.
just us.
Just Ron, Carl, and Mitchell.
We're down
All
to
right,
2.
Peace.